Hello, everybody, and welcome to Training Tuesday. I am happy to see you guys tonight. So it's an interesting topic tonight. I want to talk about that fear that we get, right? That feeling that you get when you're just about to step into something that you haven't done before. Something that might be a little bit scary, that might be a little intimidating, or that's just an unknown. And it can really be any situation. I think the example I use the most is around like giving a presentation, right? Giving a speech. Or if you're an athlete, right? You're getting ready to be in a competition or to perform. Those are the most common situations where you feel that whoosh of emotion that comes in. And then we have an automatic reaction to that whoosh of emotion. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. It's what do you do with the whoosh? How do we manage that moment of fear or paralysis or anxiety that comes up when we are stepping into these moments of doing something that in some way is not comfortable for us? So for everyone who is new here, my name is Natalie Hahn. I am CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and we are on Training Tuesday, every Tuesday here at 6 o'clock. So I'm happy to have you guys here. Every week we change the topics. Sometimes the topics come in from things that you guys write to me about and suggest to me or that we chat about. Sometimes they're coming off of things that I'm hearing from you in the community in general. So I'm always open to your ideas. If you have particular areas you want to be sure that I cover. So if you're here live, say hello. As you guys, if you've been here last week, you know I'm trying out this StreamYard technology to see if I can actually see the comments, because that has been a challenge in the past. If you have questions, you have comments, say hello, tell me where you're from, all that good stuff. Drop it in the chat. Would love to know. Happy to address any comments live or questions that I can. But in the meantime, right now, let's talk about that whoosh. So I'm curious when and where you felt this, and you're welcome to share this in the chat as well. I would love to see it. When you feel the most, that whoosh of emotion that puts you in a place where you feel a little bit paralyzed or frozen. So for some of you, I know public speaking is like a really big deal, right? The fear of public speaking. Small town in Western New York, welcome. See, it shows me the comment, but it doesn't show me the names for some reason. So that's something I'm going to have to figure out. And welcome from Western New York. I am in lovely central Massachusetts. So that whoosh comes, right, when we're doing something that we're afraid of. So what are the things that bring that to you, where suddenly you go, oh, I don't know if I can do this? For a lot of you, it's public speaking. For some of you, it just might be conversations that are maybe a little bit confrontational or just difficult. For others, it could be literally performance anxiety. If you're a performer, a singer, you play an instrument, or an athlete, and you're in a competition and you're about to race, right? There's all kinds of situations that bring that whoosh. The first time I think I actually felt that frozen kind of fear, I was 13, and I was on stage in a talent show for singing. So you would think in a talent show singing on stage that this should not be a problem because I had been doing this since I was a kid. But something happens in puberty that makes you suddenly very self-conscious. So at 13, it was my first time as a 13-year-old. And it was my first time at this particular school, actually, stepping on stage to perform. And I'm on stage and it's a solo, and the pianist who's accompanying me is playing the opening chords. And I'm looking out into the school gym, into this auditorium of my fellow students and their parents. So there's like hundreds of people crammed into this gym. And I'm the new girl in school, and I'm on stage, and she's playing the opening chords, and I can't even open my mouth. Now, I have performed and sung and acted in other plays, in other events, at other schools in the past, but there was something about this moment that I froze. And I looked down at my pianist and she looked up at me. She was an 8th grader. She was a year older than me. And she kind of glared at me, but she kept playing. And she very gracefully kind of went all the way back to the beginning and replayed the entrance to the song so that the second time my cue came around, I opened my mouth and I sang. But the only thing that got me to open my mouth in that moment was her glare because it focused me. I had to block out the hundreds of people sitting in the audience and pretend they didn't exist. And I had to look at her and go, I do not want Stacy mad at me after school today. I don't want her mad at me. She's a mean girl. She can play piano, but she's a mean girl. It was more the fear of Stacy, and my options were either get up and walk off the stage or open your mouth and sing, dummy, and just hope for the best. So that's what I did. Like, I powered through that one, and it ended up being fine. But it's the first time I can remember freezing. And I remembered thinking about it afterwards going, I never want to go through that again. I never want to go through that again. So as an amateur, right, even as an amateur and as a teenager, trying to figure out, like, how do you manage the whoosh? In my professional life, the first time I got really stuck was a conference that I was invited to speak at. At this point, very early in my career, I was in the publishing industry. I worked for newspapers, and I was invited to an international newspaper conference. And again, I was the new girl. I was new in the job. It was my first ever management job. Was it? Yeah, it was my second management job. But it was my first real, what I considered real management job. And I was being asked to present to this International Association of Marketers for Newspapers. Very specific, but they were international. So there was, again, walked into the Francis Drake Hotel in Chicago, and it's a room full of like 600 people. And I'm okay because I've, spent years now on stage practicing speaking and all this other stuff. So I'm like, I'm feeling okay about it. I'm part of a panel of 3, and I'm the middle speaker. So there's somebody who gets 30 minutes, there's me for 30 minutes, and there's a third person for 30 minutes. And we're all talking about different angles of the same topic. The first person gets up, they do their thing, it's fine. The moderator gets up and introduces me, and 2 things happen. He introduces me as the marketing director for the Scrappy newspaper in Southern Indiana. And like my ego and my competitive streak took a at the word scrappy. I was like, we're not scrappy. We're a perfectly reasonably well-sized, sort of smallish newspaper in Southern Indiana, but okay. But I didn't love the scrappy comment. But at the same time that he's introducing me, the projector goes down. Now, this is how long ago that was. There's no Wi-Fi, right, or anything like that. We're on a projector attached to a laptop with my PowerPoint slides. So I don't have my crutch. So first time at this conference, first time presenting for this company. I'm new to the industry. I'd been in it for less than a year. I'm now in front of 600 of my peers, only I'm feeling like the most junior peer there. And now I have no slides to back me up. So while they're frantically, so I'm having a moment of panic. They're frantically trying to get the projector to work. And I'm like, I have to tap dance up here and figure it out. So I did my best to deliver what I could remember of the beginning. Basically, I had to wing it. But the heart palpitations, like for the first probably 3 or 4 minutes of my talking, I wasn't even sure that they could understand what I was saying. My heart was beating so loudly. I felt like my entire professional reputation was on the line. That when I opened my mouth, I couldn't hear myself because all I could hear was like blood rushing in my ears. And it took me probably a good 3 to 5 minutes to sort of settle down and go, okay, so and in my head, I'm thinking, if these slides never come up, what am I going to do? Because like there was data that I was trying to get to. So they did come up eventually. It probably took them about 10 or 15 minutes. So about half my presentation didn't have slides. The second half, I went right to the slides. I won't lie. I dove right back in the slides, dove into the data points and said, here we go. Here's what I was trying to tell you. And got off stage and was just like, I'm glad that's over with. So I might have been in talent shows and things like that in school, but I never did improv until then. But these experiences taught me that this whoosh of energy, right? This whoosh of emotion that we get. First of all, can't control the whoosh. The whoosh happens. Think about any time that somebody says something that embarrasses you. and you flush immediately. If you're like me, you blush easily, right? You flush immediately, and you hate that because it's such a visible show of your reaction. Or you're about to do that something scary, and what happens, right? Your throat tightens. Some of us get lightheaded. Some of us get nauseous. You start to sweat, or your palms get clammy, right? And your brain starts to freeze. You can't remember what it is you're supposed to say or do. You don't know in that moment what happens next. Is this sounding familiar to you guys? Let me know in the chat. I only see one comment so far. So again, if it's not showing the comments, we'll work on a different tool. But I'd like to know just the whole stage fright or version of stage fright, right? Drop a Y in the chat for yes, or share what your experience is that freezes you, that gets you to that place where the whoosh of emotion, it might be fear, it might be anxiety, dread, overwhelm, right? But that sort of just takes over, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. And it's not that you don't know what to do because you're not good at it, or you didn't practice it, or you don't know it. It's because that wave of emotion has taken over. It's taken control. And what I want to talk to you guys about is a nifty little trick to take the control back. We can't stop the wave. We're going to flush. We're going to sweat. We're going to get that knot in our throat. We're going to get the heart palpitations. Our hands might tremble. Our voice might get edgy, but it doesn't have to be fear. It doesn't have to be anxiety. And it doesn't have to be dread. What if you could flip the script and turn it into something else? Because we can. We just don't think about it. We don't think about it, and we don't think we can, but we absolutely can own that energy. And that's what I want you to do the next time that you feel that you're on that edge. You feel that wave of emotion. I can't stop the wave of emotion coming, but I can name the feeling. I don't have to recognize that wave of emotion as fear. I don't have to call it dread or anxiety or stress. What if I felt that wave of emotion as I'm about to step out and deliver a speech? And instead, I said, this is what excitement feels like. This is what anticipation feels like. What if I called it something different? It's a really simple act of just naming the emotion. But you can do that. You can decide the emotion that comes up. You can decide what that is and what that means for you. You can decide when you're at the starting line of a race that this is, oh my God, I hate this. Why did I sign up for this race? I've had those moments. Why am I here? What was I thinking? Or you can decide, oh, this is the energetic push behind a race. This is my competitive edge coming to the forefront and saying, oh, I don't want to lose this thing. We can choose what we call that wave of emotion. We can name it as a feeling, and then we own what that feeling is. And it sounds like such a simple little trick, right? It sounds like it's so easy that it can't possibly work. But that's why I want you to try it, because it does work. Because when we consciously name things, we consciously assign them a name, that's what it becomes for us. We respond to it differently. So the next time that you're feeling the whoosh and you think, oh, holy crap, right? Oh no. You should have the moment of consciousness. I want you to have the moment of consciousness to pause and go, this isn't fear. This is excitement. This is anticipation. This is that well of energy that's going to propel me into the next thing. Because I want you to think about what a difference it would make. Let's say you're going to walk into a meeting with your boss and you're going to have that difficult conversation about a promotion, a raise, a performance review, right? But you're going to have a difficult conversation. And we all know walking into difficult conversations, What do? We ruminate. We chew the cud over what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, what are they going to respond, how are we going to respond, right? We make up scenarios in our head all day long that drain our energy. We do that. But then once we get in the room, we're nervous and it kind of all goes out the window, right? What we were going to say, that perfect way we were going to phrase that thing to our boss goes out the window. It goes out the window because we've walked into that room going, oh my God, I'm so nervous. What's he going to say? What's he going to do? I'm nervous. What if you changed the nervous energy to say, I'm excited. I'm going to get some good information out of this. I'm anticipating learning something really cool from this. I'm happy that I have the opportunity to have this conversation and learn more. You can decide what that energy is going to be. Now, I want you to think about what that difference is. So think about walking into your boss's office for a difficult conversation and what that feels like when you're nervous, what that feels like when you're worried about the outcome. We all know that feeling because we've all been there. And then I want you to think about what is it like to walk into your boss's office thinking, I'm going to get some really great stuff out of this. It's a whole different sense of confidence because behind the positive energy is the confidence. No matter which way this conversation goes, I'm getting good information. I'm going to get something useful out of this. This wave of energy I'm feeling is anticipation of the good stuff I'm going to get. It's a very different way of managing your energy. It's the same wave of emotion, but you get to name it. You get to call and decide, what is this going to be for me? Think about how different your conversations are if you have this wave of positive emotion supporting you and projecting you forward, as opposed to the crippling fear, to the anxiety, to the stress, to the nerves that keep you stuck and keep you paralyzed, right? It's a very different approach. So for those of you who are participating in Assertive April, this month is Assertive April. And I called it that because I want us to take the month of April to start asserting ourselves in taking action towards the life we want to create. Taking those steps. We've talked this whole first quarter, right? We're at the end in business terms. We're at the end of the first quarter. Welcome to Q2 of 2021. But the first quarter, for those of you who've been in my group and have been participating in my programs, you know, what have I been talking about this entire first quarter? I've been talking about how do we go after it in 2021? How do we slam dunk those New Year's resolutions, our goals for the year? How do we come out of 2020, which was its own bag of tricks, right? How do we come out of that kind of that year that sent a lot of people sideways, right? Put a lot of plans kind of on ice and sent a lot of us sideways. How do you come out of that and make 2021 strong, knowing that we're still in COVID-19? We still don't actually know what's happening. Things are still unraveling at a different pace in different parts of the country when it comes to the pandemic. We're still eyeing the economy and trying to figure out what's going to happen. Like, there's still all the same uncertainty that we had in 2020, but we are moving forward. So how do you move yourself and your life forward? So Assertive April is all about, look, we spent the first 3 months of the year talking about how do we set our goals? How do we set some boundaries? How do we set up 2021 to be your best year ever? Now in Assertive April, I don't want you to be thinking about that stuff. I want you to do it. I want us this month, so each week this month on Training Tuesday, we're going to talk about what is your Assertive April action. And this week, your Assertive April action is to start paying attention to the emotions. Emotions come, they can come in big waves, they can come in little waves, and they come anytime. Like I said, we don't control them. It's a reaction to what our full senses, right? What our full senses are taking in. So we don't control the blush. We don't control the chills. We don't control the sweat or the stomach ache or, you know, the tension in the neck. But we can recognize that it's there and that it signifies something. And then we can choose what it signifies. We can choose that instead of this being the crippling fear that keeps me paralyzed when I walk into that office to have that difficult conversation, it is instead a wave of positive energy that's fueling my excitement for the things I'm about to discover. You can totally flip the script on this one and use the energy to serve you instead of hindering you. That is your Assertive April challenge for the month of April, but for this week's lesson in particular, is pay attention to those surges of emotion and then name the feeling that you want associated with that surge of emotion. What is it you want it to represent? What is it going to do for you? And then you practice it. Because that initial whoosh of emotion that you then immediately go, oh, I'm scared, or oh, I'm nervous, that's a pattern. It's a pattern. And we can break the patterns. We can break the habits, but they take practice. So it takes continuous conscious effort to break that pattern, to stop that pattern. That's your challenge for this month. Pay attention to the wave and then own it and use it. It's your energy, so use it. Use it for something brilliant. Use it to fuel moving forward. All right, that is my one nifty trick for tonight on how do we help manage our emotions. Now, tomorrow in the post, you're going to see the blog is really focused on other ways to kind of manage and process emotions. And the thing I want you guys to take away from this week has kind of all been about working through, right? Spring cleaning out the emotional bucket and moving into new stuff. But it's a process. We are never one and done with this kind of stuff because they're based on old patterns, it's based on old conditioning. And because it's old patterns and old conditioning, we're so used to it feeling right. No, I have a right to that. That should be scary. That is nerve-wracking. Sure, could be scary and nerve-wracking. Could also just be really exciting and fun. You choose. You choose which it is. So as always, if any of you are interested in learning a little bit more about what that wave of emotion is and working through the new thing you want to call it, working through your Assertive April techniques, this is the first one, then I invite you to drop dig in the chat below, and we will set up a one-on-one conversation, one-on-one 15-minute Dirty Girl mini dig conversation to just focus on you and talk about what is this wave of emotion you're struggling in? Is it nerves? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Where is this coming from? And more importantly, how do we move you one step closer to managing that so that you really can achieve your goals? You really can. You guys hear me talk about BHAGs all the time. Big, hairy, audacious goals. That's what we want to be tackling in 2021. So drop the word dig. It's a sales-free conversation. I can't sell you anything in 15 minutes. I'm not going to try. I just want to help. 15 minutes to focus on you, what you're working on, and where you want to go. And in this particular case, we can talk specifically about stage fright, nerves, difficult conversations, you name it. It's up to you. It's whatever challenge you're struggling with. But drop the word dig in the chat. And what I'll do is I will reach out to you individually, probably through private messenger on Facebook. And we'll coordinate a time that works. And we'll have a 15-minute conversation to move you one step closer to your goal. All right. I'm not seeing any more comments, ladies. So I don't know if you're not posting them or if they're just not coming up, in which case I need a different tool. I will keep looking. But thank you for joining me tonight. As always, love seeing you guys on Training Tuesdays, my favorite night of the week. Let me know if there are any other topics you would like me to cover. I'm happy to take those on. And in the meantime, my friends, have a fabulous week.